Hello and welcome to episode 2 of series 2 of the Global Growth Leaders podcast. I'm Simon Haigh from here in Ireland, Europe, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Henry Wang from Hong Kong over there in China. Henry, it's great to see you. And this series, this 2022 series, which follows the 2020 series, we're talking to esteemed thought leaders from both the East and the West. And the aim really is to talk about the similarities, what we can bring to each other's cultures, East and West. And we're going through challenging times in the world, but we want to talk from a positive perspective in this podcast series. It's very important, the younger generations are interested in innovation and positive thinking. So we want the three of us here, and I'll introduce the guests in a second. We're going to talk positively about how we can contribute to better interrelations and collaboration. And so I'm delighted to announce our guests today, the wonderful Elizabeth Lee. Elizabeth, how are you?
Hi, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. It's great to see you. And Elizabeth is chairperson of the Sinological Development Charitable Foundation Limited. I know you're all based in Hong Kong, China. And Henry, why don't you just fire away with the first question?
Thank you, Simon, for the good introduction. It's great to see Elizabeth Lee, who's a really good friend of mine. And I admire her work. She's an impressive woman leader from Asia. And Elizabeth, you've been invited to join various boards globally and in Asia, and you own your own management consultancy. Could you give us an overview of your impressive career?
Well, I've had a kaleidoscope of experiences, and each of the experience that I've had, I always tell the young people, you never waste your time with anything you plan to do, because I feel that my marriage of different foundation has brought me here today. And for that reason, I think that when the young people are looking into their future, they should really do what they love. I started with the foundation of industry in manufacturing for garments and fashion. So I was a designer, I was in retail, I was in trading. I worked with factory workers, how to put designs into a category that would be suited for certain markets. So all of this experience have helped me to translate into different industries for my consulting practices, which included financial industry, NGOs, airlines like Cathay Pacific, and governments, because although I've never been in the airline business, but I'm a passenger. So I know what it feels like and what I expect from the customer service of an airline. So when we did a big project for Cathay Pacific, training up those who newly promoted into supervisory roles, what we found was that they didn't know what supervision was, and they had to stop doing and start supervising because they would fight for the jobs of whom they are supervising, because that's how they got there. So I think every type of work that we do, especially in a world where we're changing all the time, and the flexibility of having different experiences would contribute. Although my father was very worried that I would become a dabbler and never make anything of myself. But I feel, especially in a world that is constantly changing, you need to have flashes of things that would integrate and you can associate problem solving with different aspects. So that is sort of my career in a nutshell.
Elizabeth, that's wonderful. And what I hear there is that you've synergized all your experiences and expertise and brought your capabilities and capacity to bear to shape what you do. And particularly the Sinological Development Charitable Foundation. I'm really interested, you're the chairperson, but also the founder. Maybe just share with us, what are the key current activities and aims of the foundation?
Well, we started out very humbly with just one small summer program to promote Chinese classics, because I went to do my PhD in Peking University, and with the background of having grown up in New York City and learning Latin, French, and English all at the same time, I felt cheated that I don't know my own heritage. So I went and did this degree, which delighted me because then it made me feel like I'm totally balanced between the East and the West, because I was sort of lopsided being more Western, although I look Chinese, and I know nothing about my own heritage. So that was very difficult for me. And so now I use that sort of disadvantaged position to help people who wants to understand both the East and the West, because in the process of synthesizing, why did they do that? Why did they do this? Was a lot of questions growing up, and now I'm so happy to be a ripe old age because I have the wisdom to say that, oh, it's because of that and it's because of this. And I think in our summer program, what we did was to promote the understanding of the classics. And I think this comes from my sort of, would you say public school or private school background, where, at a very young age, we had to learn the Latin and the Greek classics and all the Roman classics so that we understand the Western culture. And so therefore I feel, hey, then you really do need the Eastern in order to understand China, which is very influential in all of Southeast Asia, Korea, Japan, everywhere, that you actually need to, because like Korea is like, they think the Song dynasty, Confucianism is it. So if you don't understand that, you don't understand Koreans. And the Japanese took the Tang dynasty and then the Southeast Asian countries. So our SDCF Foundation aspire to be a platform where we can create a community for those who are interested to learn about China. But we do not, we give opportunities to both the whole range of levels. If you're a newcomer who knows nothing, if you are a scholar, if you're a professor, if you're very high academic, we want them all to be in our community because I'll talk about later that we started this online Book of Changes salon. And we have people who admittedly say, oh, we know nothing. But we welcome them just the same, because I feel everybody has to learn from somewhere. And our theory for our community is that we all start at our different level, but we all want to improve together. And sometimes having people who knows nothing, they ask questions that we as scholars or academics in the field, we miss it because we take it for granted that we know it all. And it's fascinating because last night, even in one of our programs, we got a great question from someone who knows nothing. And we thought, oh, that's really needs clarification. And nobody's written on it. So now we're working on it together as a community, and hopefully we can publish it together when we discover the answer. So
that's wonderful. Thank you, Elizabeth. And as you can see behind me, you're never too old to read books. I'm constantly learning. Just because you get white hair doesn't mean you should stop learning. So that was, and equally, I think some of the smartest questions come from the quietest people, the youngest people. So thank you, Elizabeth. That was wonderful. Henry.
Yeah, talking about books, and I'm actually writing at this moment my sixth new book on climate, and it's unfortunately I'm having some writers' blockages at the moment. So it's great to talk with you both to take my mind off the book. But talking about books, I know, Ali, thanks, Ali, for inviting Simon and I to write a joint paper together with Ole and Moshe for your new book to be published by your Sinological Development Charity Foundation. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I'm really looking forward to it. Could you tell us something about your publication plans and promotion plans for the book?
Well, it will be published by the Chinese University Press, and because of COVID, you know, it's taken longer than we expected, but it's on the way, and they will be distributing it in libraries, and it will be online. But the concept behind the book is interesting because it matches our mission, because it is a platform for all our scholars of different level to have a chance to publish their thoughts. And it's not aiming to be a perfect sinological publication, but it is to show that different people with different perspectives and how they integrate working with us in our community, the different sinological aspects into their work, which is what you and Simon and Moshe have done so well, because even though you're not sinologists and you are aspiring to learn more, we welcome your article, whilst our students who are in our past programs, some of them are sinologists and some of them are not. And so we welcome all this publication, and we hope, rather than doing a 5-year anniversary party or some sort of celebration, the book is our celebration, because the book really shows our accomplishment and our community effort. And that is really what we hope to accomplish with the new publication. And, you know, we are not looking for a lot of big purchases, but I think it's important that everyone's work are published.
That's a wonderful idea, Ali. And I've got some good news to share with you, actually. Since we wrote the paper, Simon, I'm very glad to share, I hope Simon don't mind me saying so, he's been voted as one of the top management thinker globally. Maybe Simon, you can tell us more about that, and that might be useful when you come to promoting the book. I think both Simon and Ole have been voted as top 50 management thinker in the world.
Thank you, Henry. You've embarrassed me. I feel embarrassed.
Sorry about that. That was not the intention. I'm so proud of you.
No, thank you. No, I appreciate that. I've been voted in a couple of categories, the Global Gurus category, and also Thinkers 360 for my work in management and leadership and negotiation. So thanks so much, Henry. and also, Elizabeth, I just wanted to say that for me, I'm just sitting here in Ireland, Europe, thinking it's a huge honor, and a sincere honor, and I say this from my heart, to be involved in the book, because I used to live in Australia, and I spent a lot of time working in China. I came to China many times, and Hong Kong and Shenzhen and Wuhan and Shanghai. And I was always treated wonderfully, you know, and I miss it. I haven't been to China for about 6 years. So it actually touches my heart to think that something I've said is in the book. So thank you. You mentioned the salon, and, you know, the foundation is doing a lot of new activities. And you mentioned this new online study group salon in the Chinese classic, The Book of Changes. Maybe if you could share a little bit more about that with us.
Well, first of all, I thank all your contribution to the book, because I do hope that you will do more in the management and leadership aspects of integrating. So much of the Chinese classics is on that topic and interpersonal development in the future. And part of the new online salon that we have started, and some people call it a symposium, some people call it, and symposium reminds me of Plato's book, and some people, we call it a learning community, because the changes, I Ching or I Ching, is so complex that no expert knows everything about it, because there's two different branches of how to study the I Ching. And one is from the mathematic and astronomical side, and the other one is more the rational, philosophical, and divination part. And these two branches don't really talk to each other. So what we try to do, and we had our second session last night, it was great, because there are those who are interested in the more mathematical aspect, and there's those interested in more the philosophical part, which is obviously the more attractive and easier part, because the mathematical astronomicals really goes into the stars and how it matches, and it's more complicated, and fewer people have written on it. But I feel that I have been working with the changes for at least 10, if not 25 years, because when I was just a little girl of 5 or 8, my father would take me to his divination master when he goes and asks a question. So I've known about it for all my life. And it's always been a curiosity, and I did not realize that is such a fabulously interesting academic topic. But one could spend a whole lifetime studying it and can never get everything. So when I went into Peking University, and I didn't have any experience, because my master's degree was in change management from Pepperdine. I didn't have any experience in philosophy. My Chinese was horrible. I can only speak, but I don't read or write. And I told them I'm interested in the Book of Changes, and the professors would say to me, "Oh, I'm not sure that's going to happen." So they didn't think I would finish my degree, because you're allowed 9 years. If not, then they kick you out. But I finished in 5 years, so they were all shocked. But I picked a scholar from the Song Dynasty, because during the Song Dynasty, because of the Tang Dynasty, when the Buddhist conception sort of invaded China, like the Western thoughts invading China now, the scholars panicked, and they had to go back to something that was rooted in the Chinese civilization, and they selected the Book of Changes, which is purely Chinese. And in there, there's a few concepts that's purely Chinese, with like qi or yin yang or hexagram, so on and so forth. So I think that the Book of Changes is so rich, because they incorporated everything, the 4 seasons, and within the 68 hexagrams, they have everything that happens in every season, And each hexagram has 6 lines, and on each of the lines, they can predict everything. So they use it as a divination, decision-making process, but really it is not encouraged to use it just as superstition type of work, but people do that, so that's okay. So our community is really, really rich. There's about 30 people signed up, and they come and go. We don't require them to attend. And then we leave our Zoom recording on the machine for 2 days, and anyone who can't quite catch the time can come back and view. And we're using a perusal kind of chat box where everyone can share material. So we're really trying to build a community.
Thank you. That was wonderful. That's very impressive, Eric. And also, I know that you were also invited by Beijing to speak at an international youth forum for the Winter Olympics about the Olympic spirit and Confucius spirit. I mean, that sounds very interesting. And also, I noticed from the the other speakers all included some very famous athletes like Elaine Koo, who we were all watching during the Winter Olympic when she won her 2 gold medal and 1 silver medal. Could you share with us some of your experience at this youth forum, and what key messages you gave to these international athletes?
Well, we were supposed to go to Beijing, but of course we did not. So our scholars and we participated online, and it was fun to see yourself in this big silver screens. And it was hosted by Beijing municipal government and China Global Television Network, and organized by a think tank called ACCWS in Beijing. And we emphasized that the Olympic spirit and the Chinese classics are very connected and close. And our students, our scholars from around the world, India and Poland and so on and so forth, use these 5 virtues of Confucianism, 仁义礼智信, trustworthiness, wisdom, rituals, righteousness, and compassion. And each of them use a different aspect of the Olympic spirit, and they made a speech on that. And it was really challenging, and I think very innovative. We, as a community, this is what we do, and this is what we do in the I Ching community as well. We hang around and use about a month or 2 of, weekly sessions to discuss what it is that we all want to accomplish together. So I don't make an assignment, and everyone's, discuss and try out. And for a lot of them, are the scholars who wrote this and made these videos. It's their debut, the first time they ever talked about anything in the Chinese classics. So it was very exciting to see them on the screen. And we hope the Beijing Youth Forum will be our partner next year for our future program, which I originally planned only for Hong Kong, a youth ambassador program.
That sounds very interesting.
Now they're interested to participate, so it's great.
That's fantastic. Simon.
Well, Elizabeth, it's amazing. And I understand you're also planning a new youth project, including a 3-year youth ambassadors pilot project beginning at the end of 2022. Maybe if you could share a little bit about that, Elizabeth.
Well, that's the program that now Beijing is interested to join and also have their chapter in Beijing. We don't know exactly how we will work it yet, but it's a 3-year program. And the way I designed it is we initially used the Chinese classics in a game format on the computer and open the application to the whole of Hong Kong society. And we will select 1,200 applicants to be part of this first round. And there will be 4 rounds. And after we select the 1,200, it would be at 4 different age levels, from 12 to 15, 15 to 18, 18 to 20, 20, and then 20 to 22. So it goes across the board, 4 levels, and so about 300 in each age category. And then they would come to a half-day workshop where we would have facilitators to assess them in terms of their commitment, their knowledge, and their understanding, and their also, I think what we're looking for is passionate people, young youth, because we find that the youth today is too chill. They don't want to do anything. And so we want them to create a passion in life. And then after we cut 300 into 150 of the 4 category, then they will attend a 3 months online and workshop program where each week they would have lectures, 2 40-minute lectures and 1 3-hour workshop for 3 months. And after 3 months, we cut another half away. And then we left with 75 at each age category. And then that 75 will have to find a passion, whether it's in writing, in art, in sports, anything that they love. And in the next year, they have to work on their passion, whilst we train them to come back to teach the first level 3 months students during the workshop. So they also get the chance to become role models for the previous younger ones coming in, or newer ones coming in. And then at the end of that 1 year, they are cut again into half. So 75 becomes like 35 or 40. And then they do another 12 months program, similar, but this time it'll be even more stringent because they actually have to become virtuoso in their own field and they have to compete. And in the end, we end up with about 20, less than 20 in each age category. And when they are well-versed in the Chinese classics, we send them as ambassadors to different countries to teach people of their own age group. So it's very exciting. It's very complicated. People always criticize me for creating projects that are so complicated. But you know, if it's simple, I don't need to do it because everybody else is doing it. So I tend to be attracted to complicated but worthwhile projects. So I hope this works out.
That's wonderful. It sounds extremely worthwhile. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Wow, that sounds very impressive, Eddie. And finally, could you share with us, I mean, what is your vision and ambition for, and suggestion really, for cultural organizations to cooperate and work together more between the East and the West so as to promote international understanding and cooperation and development of the East-West leadership?
Well, I guess, in all my little communities, and eventually I hope they all merge into one big community, even though they're different age group. I mean, we will be going from 12 years old to 80 years old, right? And although there's separate projects, but maybe eventually they become one big community because it's one big family under SDCF. And I see, and my vision is that in order for communities to grow, they must have common interests and common intentions. And it's not easy to find. And because we are quite flexible in our demands of people who are participating, they can come and go, they can contribute as much as they want. We're not like whatever, and they don't have to pay us anything. And, it's like, you can come and you can join. And precisely like my hope is when my ambassador program is in place, we will be working with different countries like Argentina or Poland or, well, not the Ukraine at the moment, but different countries will have different youth organization who would like to learn about Chinese thoughts, and our students can go there and experience the country, at the same time interact with students. That's why this ambassador program is so exciting for me, because we have students all over the world, in India, in Japan, everywhere. And so eventually, as we grow this community, the reason we're so stringent with our students in cutting them half, is we want them to have leadership skills by the time they get out there and represent the Chinese culture. So I think, there's no shortcuts, and there's no cutting corners not going to get us there. And it takes time. I may not see too much of the fruits of our effort, but I hope to perpetuate this charity. Even when I'm not here, I'm already looking for succession, grooming successions, and people whose family or themselves will be interested to take over in the future. So I think that's the only hope. And despite everything that goes on in around us, I think we just have to make our effort and go forward with what we believe in and try our best.
Wow, that's fascinating, Ellie, and I'm really impressed by your work. And I hope our global audience will find this podcast as interesting as Simon and I have found it to be.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And, as you said, Ellie, we're living in what we call VUCA times, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous times. And the aim of this program is to talk to amazing guests like you who bring constructive, harmonious, and collaborative thought to help shine a light on a positive future. So we'll have more podcasts during the year. Henry, you and I have wonderful guests coming. And Elizabeth, I just wanted to say thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.